Alright guys, let's get into it. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 reasons why I think Southeast Asia is better than Latin America for digital nomads, people who want to live in a country and work online. And before I get into that, just a little bit of context about me. I've been living in Asia for just under a year now. I've been to about, like 9 countries, I think it is, 8 or 9 countries. And before that, I actually spent about 14 months living in 4 different countries in Latin America. So I think that I'm in a pretty good spot to kind of talk about the experiences and the differences between each of them. And so right now, if you're hearing all the honks, the beeps and stuff like that, that's because I am in Metro Manila in the Philippines. And if I don't want to film in my little hotel room, it is really hard to find a place that doesn't have people in it. I guess that's just kind of Manila. It's just full of people all the time. So we're gonna kind of put those aside. I'll see what I can do with those in the editing. But right now, let's get into 5 reasons why Southeast Asia is better than Latin America for digital nomads. And number 1, guys, it's got to be number 1, the safety. Now, when I was in Latin America for about 14 months, I got robbed twice. Now, both of them were not violent altercations by any means, but I got pickpocketed once in Medellin, Colombia. I got pickpocketed once in Peru, and there's just so many different stories about people who are getting, attacked by scopolamine in Colombia, or robbed, or I had a friend whose friend got robbed by a machete outside of the building where I was actually living in Colombia. And so that stuff happens all the time there. And having spent about 14 months, or about 11 months in Asia so far, I haven't had an incident yet. I don't even really know anybody who's had an incident of being robbed or attacked or anything like that. There are obviously one-off situations. When I was in Thailand, somebody went and shot up a mall. That stuff does happen every once in a while, but just compared to Latin America, it is just night and day. So if you're looking for somewhere that's safer, Southeast Asia is definitely more appealing for you. Now, number 2 has got to be the cost of living. And so I'm just going to preface this by saying that you can live in both areas of the world for very cheap if you want to, or very expensive. Both of these places, as with most countries and areas in the world, will take whatever money you want to spend. There's a luxury lifestyle no matter where you go. If you want to spend the money, you can. That being said, the quality of life that you can get for $800, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a month is just better here in Southeast Asia. And you can, like I said before, you can live in Latin America and you can probably spend $1,000 a month or a little bit less or something like that. But you're just going to be living in more dodgy neighborhoods. You just can't really get the same quality of life. You might have to go into rural areas. Obviously you can live in rural Bolivia if you want to for $800 a month, but you can also live in Bali and away from the touristy spots for $800 a month. And there's just going to be a lot more amenities and a lot more of those creature comforts that you're going to know in Bali. So definitely the cost of living is probably a little bit better in Southeast Asia. And yeah, just in terms of the places you can live for the budget, you're just going to get more variety, better options in Southeast Asia. And now, cheap spots I went to in Latin America has got to be Lima, Peru, Colombia, whether it's Medellin or Bogota, both of those are pretty cheap. Some spots in Mexico, but Mexico City is kind of more expensive for sure. Even Guadalajara is more expensive as well. The Dominican Republic is probably the most expensive spot I went to in Latin America. It's very informally dollarized economy where people are just used to paying more. It's an island, everything like that. So yeah, comparing those to the Philippines, Cebu is super cheap. Thailand, Chiang Mai is super cheap. Bangkok is more expensive. It's probably more similar to a Medellin or something like that. But yeah, overall, you got to give it to Southeast Asia in terms of the affordability and just the value that you're getting for your money, especially those lower budgets. And number 3, guys, has got to be just the ease and the affordability of traveling around. So if you went to Latin America, let's say you're European or you're from North America or something like that, and you're thinking, hey, I want to go do a Latin America trip. I want to go hit the best spots. Where would you go? So there's probably in Latin America, you're thinking Mexico City, you're thinking Buenos Aires, you're thinking probably Colombia, Peru. And to get from all of those spots to one another is going to be pretty expensive, unfortunately. There's just so much land mass in between all those spots, especially if you want to get down to somewhere like Argentina. You're going to be paying a lot of money to get there. In contrast with Southeast Asia, there's just such high population densities, and the countries are a lot smaller in terms of landmass that you can actually get from country to country for a lot cheaper. Like, I flew to the Philippines from Thailand or from Vietnam for $150, and you can get from Thailand to Vietnam for another $100. So you're just going to be taking your budget and carving it into a third in terms of flying between countries if you want to go to like the main countries. And number 4, guys, is gotta be, it's just a lot more chill. Southeast Asia is just a lot more chill. In Latin America, things feel a little bit more like tense, and obviously the safety plays into that a little bit. But yeah, just you kind of feel like it's a lot more like competitive of a society. It feels like you don't really have to worry about people trying to take your stuff here. People are just leaving their motorcycle helmets on their motorcycle. They're leaving like their packages outside. Like, people aren't really fucking with you as much here. Versus in Latin America, like, obviously it's a big place. I'm not going to paint everybody with the same brush, but people are a lot more likely to take your stuff, take your girl, take whatever they can, trying to rob you, trying to hassle you on the streets or something like that. Especially like the street merchants, like, you're probably going to be a little bit more aggressive in Latin America. So if you're kind of a bit of a passive person, I think Asia's probably a better spot, because people are just more chill and they're just more likely to leave you alone, and that's kind of really baked into the culture here. And then number 5, guys, everybody's thinking it, the food. The food is better here. There are great spots for food in Latin America, but when you really think about it, it's probably just Mexico, maybe Peru, maybe Argentina. But it's just there's so much more depth in Asia. Thai food, one of the best foods in the world for sure. That can be right up there with Mexican food. And then when you think about what second place is in Latin America versus second place here, I mean, even though they're not really in Southeast Asia, China, India both have amazing cuisine. There's Japan, there's Korea, there's Vietnam, which even has good cuisine. It's a little bit more basic, I would say. But yeah, just even in Southeast Asia, just Thai food, Vietnamese food, and then all the influences from those other cultures that are just on the periphery of Southeast Asia just make it a way better culinary experience. Like, I have a friend I work with him, and he's going to Peru. He's probably there right now. And I was telling him, I'm like, dude, the food is amazing in Peru. Like, I miss it. It's so good. And then he's like, okay, what should I get? And then I'm like, well, you got to get like the ceviche. You got to get the ceviche, the raw fish ceviche for sure. And he was like, oh, I don't really like seafood. And then I thought, oh shit, I don't really know what else to recommend, because the menus weren't that deep, and honestly the seafood was like the main thing that I liked there. So if you didn't like seafood, I mean, you probably just shit out of luck in Peru. But those are the 5 things, guys. And I'm not just going to say that this is all, like, Asia's definitely better than Latin America in all regards. It really is a personal preference, and I'm going to make another video talking about why Latin America is better than Southeast Asia. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it at that. And I will say that, look, if this is your first video watching mine, it's free, completely free. But if it's your second or third, you owe me. Unfortunately, it's not free for you. You get the first one free, second and third do cost a follow or subscribe. So just hit the subscribe button. Makes no difference to you. I might just get buried on all your other subscriptions, but it did make a very big difference to me, and I'd appreciate it. So just hit the like button, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next week in the next one. Thanks, guys.